Hello, and welcome to Adjacent to History with Mr. Johnson's Time Machine, which is not really a
Not
time machine.
Yeah, thank you.
I guess this is a working title for our podcast right now. I'm your host, Rory McBain, and of course, I'm joined by the inventor of the amazing technology that allows us to listen to history, Mr. J. John Johnson.
Oh, Rory.
Welcome back for our second episode.
Thank you so much. I have to say, I didn't think we'd be here, but I'm glad we are.
Well, we are.
Because I
yes.
think we have some important work to do here on this show, Rory.
do.
And I want to say thank you to you for your patience with me last week. Yeah, to be honest, I was nervous. First time I'd ever been on a podcast.
You know what?
so-
It's a lot of pressure to be on a podcast for the first time, and I think it's understandable. I think most people kind of go a little crazy the first time on
Yeah.
a podcast.
Well, thank you for that. And I just want to say I'm sorry.
No apology necessary, but apology accepted.
And to go above and beyond that, I want to do a little something for you.
Well,
As the sole
Proprietary.
sponsor
Yeah.
and proprietor of the
Invention.
the IP, the invention. Yeah, I want to rename the podcast "Mr. Johnson's Time Machine." Full stop.
even though it's not an actual time machine.
It's not a time machine. I totally understand what you're saying when you call it time machine.
All right. Now, you're not going on some spiritual...
No, not at all.
Okay.
God, no. There's no God.
Well, maybe that's something we'll figure out in this show, but...
Yeah, who knows?
Okay. All right. So, well, there you go, folks. I think that we've made amends here. We've kind of solved our title problem all at once, and we've let you, the listeners, in on it, which is kind of a little foreshadowing to what this podcast is, of course. If you didn't listen to our first episode, go back and listen to last week's episode, and that might solve a lot of the questions you have. We went through various periods of history and kind of showed you what this show is going to be all about. But if you're still listening now, I'll just tell you, thanks to the amazing technology of Mr. Johnson's Time Machine,
Not a time machine.
not a time machine, but thanks to it,
Yeah.
we are able to go back and actually capture every single moment in sound. All right, well, you know what? This is a good time for a commercial.
Sounds good. Nice job, Rory. I feel like
Well, yeah, I mean,
we did a lot better.
than last week.
Yeah.
Well, last week was a bit tense. I'll
Yeah.
admit.
I got to tell you, that marijuana helped.
You took the gummies.
Yeah.
You didn't take them before
I took them at breakfast.
today.
I feel fucking good,
Oh, dear.
Rory.
All right.
Where are we going to go?
Well, we still have to record the episode.
Okay.
Settle down. The numbers don't lie. Vicious attacks from violent babies are on the rise. Are you prepared? Protect yourself and your loved ones with Mr. Johnson's Baby Taser. You can't talk your way out of an attack from a baby. There's no reasoning with someone whose brain is not developed enough to use spoken language. Tasing is your only hope. Mr. Johnson's Baby Taser is lightweight and has telescoping electrodes so you can tase any infant without bending. Babies have no conscience. Tase them before they strike. Mr. Johnson's Baby Taser, not for use on toddlers.
Mr. Johnson's family products.
Welcome back to Mr. Johnson's Time Machine.
It's got a nice ring to it.
I love saying it. I really do. Now, today, as opposed to last week, we're going to concentrate on one single historical era. And the one I've chosen for today is the Dust Bowl. The Dust Bowl of the 1930s was a uniquely American tragedy, combining greed, ignorance, and technology run amok. The myth of American exceptionalism was easily snuffed out in a storm of dirt and sand. I can remember my grandfather telling me stories from his childhood growing up in Oklahoma, when the family had nothing to eat except for beetles and cow patties. Yes, my grandfather grew up eating shit, but that's a story for another day. While many families had their lives destroyed, and a good portion of the Midwest was rendered useless for decades, the Dust Bowl did prove to be fertile ground for artists like John Steinbeck, Woody Guthrie, and photographer Dorothy Lang, who were all able to make a healthy living off the misery of those poor farmers. So, it wasn't all bad. Now, I know, Mr. Johnson, from previous off-air conversations that you are a big fan of The Grapes of Wrath.
Yeah, in fact, it's my favorite novel of all time.
And of course, that book chronicles the Dust Bowl and how it affects an American family.
One of the really, truly unique things about the novel is that it alternates chapters between setting the stage for what America was like at the time and then zeroing in on one family in particular, the Joads, and showing their experience in that particular climate.
Of course.
It is a really groundbreaking and heartbreaking piece of American literature, my favorite novel of all time.
But of course, like all literature, it is a work of fiction. And the difference in our show and the works of fiction is that, again, thanks to your technology, we are going to be able to actually zero in on any family in Oklahoma in the 1930s suffering through this Dust Bowl. And we're going to be able to find out how on the money Mr. Steinbeck was with his work of art. We're going to be able to see what it was like for Americans trying to live through this tragic era of our history. So, if you don't mind, Mr. Johnson, why don't we get started right now? And I've got some ideas of where we can go. We're looking at the 1930s Oklahoma Panhandle. Let's go middle of April 1936, let's say.
Okay, 5 seconds.
All right. I probably should have given you a little hint before.
That's it. It's
that we were
going.
It's going. All right.
Johnson's moved.
Thank God. Those people were idiots.
They're going to California.
Well, good. Let them.
There's virtually nobody left here anymore. It's putting a huge hole in our swinger club.
There's people coming through here, people passing through.
Passing.
Yeah, well,
Nobody
maybe.
wants to get out of a dirty, dusty car and join a
Well,
fuck
maybe
circle.
you gotta entice them a little bit, okay? Maybe lose the attitude, take off your shirt, and show them your pecs.
Jane, it's never the guy. It's the lady.
Oh, it's my fault that we can't get a third into the bed.
It's not your fault. It's this dust storm and the lack of people, but also you could shake them a little
Oh,
bit.
you don't think I shake these enough? Look, sorry, I'm a little starving. My ribs are showing. I
Yeah.
don't know that anybody wants to see my ribs.
Not to mention
Or my
that-
bony
and
ass.
the travesty that 8 kids suckling at those things have made of them.
All right.
I understand all
So
of
you
that.
are blaming me.
No, I'm blaming God.
Wow. Well, it's been a long time since I read The Grapes of Wrath, but I don't recall any of that type of content.
I will say this. I hate to be a contrarian, but there is quite a lot of eroticism in The Grapes of Wrath.
Oh, I didn't get that.
A lot of it's hidden.
Oh, well, see, I read the Cliff's Notes, so they may have cut that part out.
Yeah, of course.
Of course.
Yeah,
Now-
so people who go into the sciences can't really be reading Cliff's Notes. We have
No,
to
but-
actually read.
Yeah, but the podcast world is full of people like that.
I guess I should get on board with that then, huh? I'll read a couple Cliff's Notes.
Well, you've probably already read the original, so there's no need.
Oh, I've read it a few times. You know, it's funny. I wanted to say something about my experience with that novel.
Oh.
I was a young man. I had just gotten out of the service
Oh.
and I'd been
Military service?
Yes, yes. I'd just been discharged. I was up in Lompoc, and I was hitchhiking,
Okay.
and there was a novel in the back seat. It happened to be The Grapes of Wrath. When we stopped to get gas, I stole the woman's purse and the novel and ran off into the hills. And
Whoa.
so it's got a real special place in my heart.
I guess so. You know, getting back to what we listened to,
Yeah.
there was something interesting that caught my attention. Their neighbors were the Johnsons. And I wonder if did you choose that? Was that any connection to your family or anything?
No, actually, my actual birth last name is Moskowitz. But when I went to was military school.
I'm finding out a lot about you, actually.
Yeah.
Mister.
Yeah, you open the floodgates.
I guess
I had
so.
to be honest, and now I have to be honest.
I guess so.
Anyway, I chose the name Johnson as a way to take my power back. The kids called me Little Johnson, and I just went.
Did they call you that before you changed the name, and then you
Yeah, before I changed the name, and I just
so-
thought, well, then I'll buy the power back on that
By taking the name Johnson.
And now who's laughing?
Well, I don't know who those kids are, but
No, but
they're
I do.
probably not.
I
Okay.
do. And I've listened, and they're not laughing. Anyway.
Okay. We'll get into the other implications of what you just said maybe a little later. Let's get back to what we heard there in the 30s, Oklahoma, 1930s. Clearly suffering in a number of ways.
Stubborn, immensely stubborn people, I think.
Staying
is what we're
there.
listening to, yeah.
Not any food, but it seemed like there was a bit more of an active sex scene than I would have thought.
Well, like I said, in the novel, a lot more eroticism than, remember how it ends. It's basically Rosa Sharon getting her titties sucked by some guy is the end of the book.
yeah, that's.
Yes,
I didn't find that erotic.
He's nourishing her, but, well, for some of us.
She's nourishing him.
That's what I meant to say,
Yes.
yeah. But for some of us, there is a certain eroticism there.
Maybe we should move on. Let's keep listening. I'm intrigued by this.
Sounds good. All right, here we go? 5 seconds.
I probably should have been introing, saying something
you're-
more, but okay.
You're good. I feel much better this week.
Yeah,
I feel like we're really, you and I are really on the same page now.
Except for you saying that all the time, I agree.
Wipe your feet before you come in.
What is the point?
Well, what'd you learn?
I was wrong. The Johnsons didn't move. Well, not very far. They're dead. Looks like mutual suicide.
Thought I smelled something.
Oh, sorry. That was me.
That was you?
Yeah.
Take it outside.
I
It's windy out. Take it out there, and the Lord will take it away along with the rest of this town.
Pardon me. I assumed, since it's been 2 days since we ate last, that I wouldn't have to fart no more. But I was wrong. Farts keep coming.
They sure do.
Wow.
Yeah, we seem to say wow a lot coming out of these. This is some startling discoveries. I mean, this is beyond.
I'm not surprised that we're wowing. I mean, first of all, just the fact that we're able to do this is
That's
kind of
true.
a wow.
That's
but
true.
then to find out some things like, I don't know that there was much discussion in Grapes of Wrath, for example, about this gas problem.
Biologically speaking, the body is going to continue to burn fat, muscle, etc., and
And
that's
that
going to
produces gas.
continue to create waste, and it's going to continue to create gas. And I think it's worth pointing out that for millennia, this has confounded humans, wondering if the farts will keep coming. And as this woman so eloquently stated, they sure do. Yeah, take that to church.
See, I had assumed that with all the dust storms going on, that people would have, without even knowing it, consumed several tablespoons full, at least, of dust and dirt, and that would be causing maybe the dusty farts.
You're saying that they would have just accidentally eaten tablespoons of dust?
Not tablespoon by tablespoon. I'm saying the cumulative effect of all the dust would have been that they would have accidentally ingested an amount that would be equal to several tablespoons.
Standing there, mouths agape, staring out the window,
I'm not
wondering when it's all going to be
suggesting-
over. Their mouths filled with dust, naturally, of course, yes.
Although perhaps in desperation at a certain point,
Like
maybe
drinking
they were
seawater.
Maybe they
Yeah.
were eating spoonfuls of dust.
Could
and
be.
It's a shame we didn't get a little more detail on what those farts were like, but
I will say this.
interesting nonetheless.
If they were desperate enough to eat dust, I hope this story ends with them not living, because we don't need people that stupid.
Well, perhaps maybe there was nutrients in that. We don't want to judge the people of history.
Well, I mean, who else can we judge? You can't judge the people of the future.
No, not yet.
Maybe on season 2. See that? I'm hopeful now.
I mean, there was also, I believe, a mutual suicide that was
That was an
referenced in there.
interesting reference
I
as
guess
well.
their neighbors apparently, a difficult time for everyone. And
Yeah, I think mutual suicide sounds strange. I'm guessing these are uneducated people. I mean, not to paint with such a wide brush
sure,
and limited palette, but chances are these are largely uneducated folks out there.
and the concept of mutual suicide, would it be like we do this on 3? I'm not sure how that.
Well, I think mutual would just mean that any time. A mutual could be 5 years apart. Just be like, hey, 5 years from now, you do yours and I'm going to do mine right now.
Oh, wow.
Wouldn't that be mutual? I mean,
I
simultaneous
suppose.
would be at the same time.
I think
but
that's what he was referencing. Maybe
I
he
think
got that
so.
wrong.
he wouldn't know. He wasn't in the room.
No.
We could find it.
We
but
could
I
go
don't
into the room,
think I
but
can
at this
listen.
point, yeah.
I don't want to hear any more.
No, I
violence.
don't
There was
either.
enough in France. So.
True. That's true.
All right. Well, we should keep listening.
I suppose we should. Let's find out. Maybe it'll solve some of these mysteries.
Yeah. Here we go.
All right. Yes, we are. Just another reminder. We're Dust Bowl, 1936, Oklahoma Panhandle.
You know what? If we were smart, we'd figure a way to sell this dust. If we could market it right.
Well, sure looks like moon dust.
How do you know?
Well, I seen pictures in the Life magazine. By the way, a photographer stopped by. I was pretty dirty and I went ahead and take a photo with him.
Do you pay you?
Well, I got a little something on the side.
What does that mean?
I had sex.
Did you get a photo of that?
I didn't think to ask. I didn't really think he'd want a picture of this.
Yeah. Put that away.
I like this lady. I have to say, I really think She is making lemonade.
She's making something. She referenced a photographer, and that was something that was happening during that period of time, as I mentioned earlier. Is
Sure.
nearly a 1-to-1 ratio of Life magazine photographers to destitute farmers.
Really?
Something like that. My numbers might be off, but I
Man.
believe Life magazine really just sent a bunch of people in there, capture as many photos of misery as you can, bring it back, and we'll monetize it. And another thing, often in these dust storms, the visibility is less than 5 feet.
Right.
So a lot of these photographers, what are they getting? They're getting just pictures of
Nothing
dust.
but close-ups or
Yeah.
dust.
Close-ups or dust. It was, we probably should look into it more, but it seems to me to have been a real
Yeah, we also
waste of resources.
We should probably also point out the very real, strange fact that she said she saw pictures of moon dust. Now, I know there's all kinds of wacky conspiracy theories out there, from the pizza place to Gandhi's still alive and
Sure, all the big ones.
living in England. This is odd.
Are
to
you
me.
suggesting that this woman, this farmer in rural Panhandle, Oklahoma, had some kind of secret knowledge about interstellar objects that others didn't have?
I just think Billy Pilgrim was unstuck in time.
Well, that's again,
Perhaps
that's.
I mean, I know it's
a
a piece of,
Vonnegut.
I know
That's
it's
a work.
piece of literature. It's
Yes.
fiction, but if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, maybe it's a goose.
I think
but
it's
still waterfowl.
Slaughterhouse-Five is widely recognized as fiction. I think, though.
I couldn't agree more.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to be sure about that because there's some pretty far out stuff. I read that
Very
book
good.
entirely. No Cliff's Notes for that. So I know.
Good for you. That's a good 160 pages.
Now, I don't know if there's any evidence of people trying to monetize the dust itself.
I do know that back in 1980, I bought a baggie full of what I was told was Mount St. Helens volcanic ash, and in fact turned out to just be a Duraflame.
Oh, that's interesting. When I was in college, well, that's a different kind of dust. Never mind.
Any kind of dust you're running into in college is mostly it's skin, it's follicles. Skin.
Oh, I was talking about angel dust.
Oh, drugs.
Yes.
Of course, naturally.
Let's go back.
continue to
Yes,
listen.
yes. All right, that's fine.
Another guy stopped by, just passing through, had a big old pickup truck with stuff roped to the back of it.
Where was I?
I don't know. Maybe you were digging around in the neighbor's house looking for bodies of food. By the way, speaking of bodies, where is Gina, Edwin, Mark, Flavio? Where are the kids?
I don't know. They ain't been back for a while, and since we ain't got nothing for 'em to do or eat, I just let 'em go.
Yeah, that's probably for the best. Well, I think we gotta decide. We staying or we going?
Seems like everybody's going, so if we stay, we own everything.
I like the way you think.
I want to be a disruptor.
All right, well, why don't you disrupt this?
Stop. Wash it first.
Well, there you go, huh? I mean,
I have to say that woman, for the circumstances she was in, had a very healthy sex drive.
yeah, I think we have to remember people started having children much earlier. They didn't have children on purpose. They had children because they were young and they were horny and they fornicated and they had a child.
And there were at least 4 children that they were mentioning there.
I think she said 8 at one time earlier in the. We should go back and listen to this. We'll give you updates on it. Click like us and comment on us
Oh, yes.
is something we should be saying.
And as soon as we get a place for you to do that, we will
That's
true.
true.
Let you know.
Yeah.
Because if you like and click right now, there's nowhere to do
But
that.
I thought maybe if they wanted to know, we could go back and listen to it and find out. But I thought there were more children.
But she only
really,
named 4.
Yeah, I think she just kind of gave up. Like, where are the kids? It's heartbreaking to think that a mother and father don't know where their children are.
Well,
and also don't seem to mind.
This is what hunger and desperation will do to you. From what I understand, many families sent their children away or traded them in. Or
I don't know that anyone was trading their children in. What are you talking about? Trading in your child for food?
yeah, for food or
What? Do you think there was a high V where they could go in and here's my child and I'll take back a loaf of bread?
Well, I don't know that there were no high V's at that time. First of all, let's
Colloquially speaking.
Well, I don't even think there was. So you're saying like the general store or whatever?
Yeah, okay.
Trading the children in.
Yes.
I don't have all the details on this, of course, but I just
Clearly not. That's not.
Well, I think that what we listened to from this woman proves my point a little bit. We probably could look up that Flavio. I have to think there were not many Flavios in the Midwest in the 30s and 40s. So if we can get into some of our records that we've got, as soon as I renew my Ancestry.com, I can look into that and try to find out if there is a Flavio in Oklahoma in the 30s or 40s.
Good God. Please keep us posted about your Ancestry.com.
Well, I think it makes sense to have an Ancestry.com account when we're doing this podcast.
Certainly, yes.
Where we might be searching for people from history. I think it makes a lot of sense.
That's good.
They're
you.
not a sponsor yet, but I don't need you to.
It'll be a cold day before we have any sponsor other than Mr. Johnson and the Johnson family of products.
Of course, we like to thank our sponsor.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you. Yes, you are the
that's
sponsor,
all right.
Mr. Johnson.
I have to say, I think this is a successful attempt at just honing in on one thing. I was worried about the technology holding up, to be honest. Keeping a signal in one place for an extended period of time like this, I was concerned because I felt like if we ever wanted to go back and get some long speech or something,
sure,
that's going to be hard to do to keep the needle in that.
Well, we haven't been able to do it yet, that's for sure. So
well, we just did it.
Well, but there was no long speech there. We still haven't employed it for that. But I am glad that you're working out the kinks on the air here with this. And I do think you did a good job in staying in that area. I think we found out some interesting things that were not necessarily in Grapes of Wrath or any other historical accounting of this era. Certainly the fuck circle was a bit of a surprise.
I don't think we should be surprised by capitalism and flashy libidos. No matter what period of time we're looking at, people want stuff they want to get stuffed. That's true. A Mr. Johnson quote, and that one is trademarked by the time you've heard it.
I think you may want to work that one out a little bit more. But you are right.
I can't remember what it was now, but it's good.
We'll go back and listen to it. And we will be merchandising some of these catchphrases for you
later
later
on. There are T-shirts and bumper stickers already in print.
Once again, we just
new
need to...
catchphrase that I just wrote that I can't remember now, it will be available by episode 3.
Okay. And again, we're still working on a website and all that, but as soon as we have that up, we will give that information to you. And I think for today, we've covered quite a bit. We've covered the Dust Bowl era, at least one little slice of it, of course. Who knows what we'll be bringing you next week, but you can be sure it'll be a slice of history thanks to Mr. Johnson's time machine.
Which is not an actual time machine, but we're still going to say it.
We're going to say that
because it's catchy.
And eventually we'll stop saying that it's not actually a time machine afterwards, hopefully.
If it becomes a socially understood fact, yes, then we'll be okay with it.
All right. Before we leave you listeners, we want to thank our sponsor, Mr. Johnson, and the entire line of Mr. Johnson's products, including Mr. Johnson's Baby Taser, Mr. Johnson's Beaver Poison, and Mr. Johnson's Squirrel Polish, as well as many other products that you can find at your local U.S. Post Office.
Thank you, Postmaster DeJoy. Mr. Johnson would like to extend a special thank you to all our participating consultants, Rebecca and Rich Sohn, and Eddie Furman.
Mr. Johnson's family of products.